opening up my communications to high setting is really recognizing all communications, all levels of clocking. The clock lines in high channel, high position location has to really understand how the avatar really understands the conceptions of the mind. The mind is the knowledge of its intelligence that's connected to high setting. It's all direct signals and sublocation system. So we all have to understand, how does this work for you to understand you to all levels and position, right? You have to really understand how to use the clocking. Clocking is crucial, all calculations, especially when it comes to the avatar sublocations, right? Because you got to look at the longitude and latitude. You have to look at the bandwidth. You have to look at the calculations, the calculus, the high lines, the high positions, the high drives, the fortitude light stream, high interference, how fast you're traveling, why am I traveling? This is how I'm traveling. I'm going faster now. Now I understand why I'm traveling. Now I understand why I'm traveling faster. This is all determination location of calculations, right? It's very powerful when you come into that set line calculation setting. So coming in line interference, we'll go into 2-track location of clocks, all right? Changing perimeters and line set line calculations streamlines puts positions in high set interference. This opens a line communication to a system, right? So we got one swirl in set location system, and we got another swirl in set line condition system, line conditions in set locations, right? 2 line settings. Now clock line center line interference is equal to 12 in set locations, right? Equal line conditions of 24, inline conditions of 48 in set location as center lines into box location setting in positions of high setting. Okay, so that communications comes into 12 lines, 12 sets here in set location, right? Setting signals in the line interference of one arrow and indication to its set location setting opens up another panel operation line setting locations to higher levels of travel settings into your 12 DNA rotation surface. So the whole understanding is how to travel through lines of clock line settings through 12, 24, 48, 72, or 144. Now, because the team is in 144, you have to really recognize all communication that travels, especially when you come into 12, especially when you come into 24, 48, 72, or 144. So all you have to do is recognize the 12 lines, okay, which is line connecting, but you need 12 and 12 and 24 to ground the setting, right? Because you can't travel without it. So in that line communications, you're traveling through a 24 signal in set location system. Okay, you're traveling through 24. You're not traveling through 12 now. The only time you're going to travel through 12 if you're communicating with lower density set lines and high set locations on levels of different settings. So it's recognizing all communication of the system. You have to really, really pay attention to that setting. So you got a 24 ground setting, right? Now equalines is calculation system of 90 into 2 set locations, right? So it recognizes the 9 lines and doesn't cross signal location of 2 lines. Setting communication of diamond core set location, right? Direction of 2 lines in perimeter set location system. 2 sets here, 2 sets here, 2 sets here, right? So that comes into its triangulation line setting and calculations to another Merkabah set location, and a high calculations to an orb line rotation surface in a 12 line setting and high set location center position, right? So that's how you set up line communication of perimeters and parameters. So in that line communication system, you have to truly understand how to use the 92 line interference. Let's put a position location, high center interference, and track location, 8 line in this high setting. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So this indicates line interference. Every time you travel through clocking is letters, numbers, and shapes coming together, working together as a team, communicating as a team, understanding observation locations as a team, knowing exactly how to use your clocking through all communication as yourself and as a team. There's no I in team. You work together, okay? Through clocking of travel, set line communication system, understanding the frequencies and set line communication system. For example, let's say Heather is in a data op, very high rise line center, 144 line position locations. She's always protecting her setting line condition, all set locations. So if anybody comes into her perimeters and parameters without her consent line calculation setting, what's going to happen to Heather is she's going to get pinged in center. Okay, so that's an in-line communication system, all levels of set lines of a vibration line setting that doesn't recognize her set location system or anything through its intelligent line conditions of its alpha channel, right? So if it's an alpha beta, she knows it's a low frequency. So she's deciding whether or not to let that go or protect her system and put higher levels of energy fields around her setting, especially with your calculation of her data into Vega communication. So it's important you understand how to use all lines of communication in your settings. All right, so you got 92 equal line conditions, 5 lines and ground lines, and 4 in high line setting. Okay, so you take 4 line setting line position locations of box line 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, that's 4. Remember, it's all about understanding 4 is its own God and conditions of its own DNA setting, right? And you do the same thing with 5. But 5 sets line communications, comes into the line calculations. 5 crosses signal, right? Setting communication line interference, downshift line cross lines, in position a half pipe of 6 into the moon set location system. Now that recognizes all calculations. So in that line communication comes into 5 settings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Center its communication in the center line calculation, right? Center communication and center line calculations, right? Into 2 lines, into 2 panels, into 2 calculations, into travel line setting in clock location. All right. So 92 line settings are set up, bracket communications, 9 lines, equal lines of energy wash, equal lines of rainbow wash, into line communications, equal line condition of infusion, setting lines, set lines and high line interference and high calculation system, equal line conditions of perimeters, equal line conditions of all levels of parallels, equal line conditions of paradox, paradigms, polar shift. Now, this puts position location equal line condition system. So we take the 9 into the lines of 0, into lines of 0, into lines of 0, into lines of 0, into lines of 0, of laser direct locations into all set line condition. Okay. Now, try to understand what I'm doing is trying to understand the perimeters and parameters to your line setting to 92 set locations of set location system. Okay, 5 over track, 4 line setting, and rotation surface. Down by equation. Okay, reckon line its set lines and high set location. This is where we come into Discord. Now, Discord lines of value and set line calculation system like some 92. We worked with the 92 because the 92 comes into line set line interference. Did you see the platitude line interference location, how it comes into all set locations of 4 and 5? That's your phenomenal set locations in your 9 line setting. Operation to signal location puts you in phenomenal channels, right? So that's 45 line signals in high locations in positions to your AI track location setting. Indirect signals in set location of Discord. 92 line setting, 9 lines, energy wash. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Setting communication of travel and set location system. Okay, so we take the 2 line in the opposite direction location settings, right? Setting position of 1, 2, right? Center communication at all levels of the moon and position location of the sun in set line conditions. Sun's in here in rotation surface traveling to the moon set line condition. Okay, done by equation. So I set up a Discord channel, line operation at all levels, division line interference into all location systematic line condition communication operation to its all levels of remembering calculation of division to its dimensional line setting, equal line conditions of 92 in set location system in parameters and parameters in set line conditions of security. Setting line interference line conditions here comes all levels in positional levels and high set locations of Pluto. Pluto recognizes line calculation setting, beacon lights and communications in a waving cycles. See 3 set locations. Center lines its communication system and all track lines in its direction system. Okay, done my equation. All right, so you got perimeters and parameters in a line setting. Okay, now to understand how to use it always in a formation location is to understand how to use it through a block center or a triangle set locations. Okay, equal line condition system. Now, the equal line center lines change its position location at track lines. It gets very complicated if you don't understand your position of your perimeters and parameters. Okay, so longitude, line condition of latitude, and center line condition of system. Okay, so it's a perimeter check and center lines of center line position location high setting. Directing signals line communications, equal line calculation system and set location setting. Recognizes frequency patterns into the center operation line condition of its ground lines of its operation surface. Setting calculates line position locations, high setting its track lines. So it center lines its communication and its triangulation, comes back and set lines of communication to travel. Okay, so recognizes line connection opens up another panel, another division, another location system into the sun of its operation to its moon of its kaleidoscope location system. Okay, done by equation. All right, so setting line calculation is to understand how to use plateau line centers. Now, we did a live communication system. Remember, you can't have an open signal location of 7. 7's got to be in this, especially if we're dealing with numbers. Shapes, symbols, and letters are different. So we'll get into that line calculations. But you have to truly understand is that you're protecting all levels because it's all connected to your inventory set locations. Out with the old, in with the new. Out with the old, in with the new. Out with the old, in with the new. Same line communications, right? I said that 3 times to set line conditions. Truly understand what you're doing through your thought lines is truly understand how to use it through perception. When you enter line in a line in position location, this is 7 line settings, exposure, protection, exposure. Okay? So it's important to understand line communications because it's all of its detection to its GPS lock line setting to its location. Right? So in that line communication, you have a 7-digit number line conditions of a 3, line conditions of an area code line interference, and set line condition system. 7 line track lines and set lines of 5 line conditions of 12, setting communication line and line rotation interference into position locations and high setting. Okay, so that's how you travel through 7 lines at equal lines of 3 and position of 5 into area code line setting. Direction of time sequence comes in 12 lines equals to 12 lines equals to 12 lines. 12, 24, 36. 36 line calculation setting. In line position location higher setting, line rotation surface into a back force line settings back into Pluto of calculation. That's my equation. So it's important you understand how to use the 7 lines. You're always in calculations. You got this in brackets. You got this in lock signal. Okay, and set location system, right? So this is hanger, this is bracket, hanger, bracket, hanger, bracket, okay? All levels of travel are all travel, okay? So you have to put your numbers in line communication all settings, right? Do not have your 8s and 7s exposed, okay? Because it's all levels of GPS lock setting, right? Calculations. Here's communication setting, bring signals. So you set out 7 in signal locations to its beacon light to the other line of the dark line setting rotation, right? So it takes the 7 and changes anything in its set location system. So congratulations, it's now on the other line center line interference. So 7 is missing in set locations. Misinformation, miscalculation, line calculation system. Setting line communications, the 7 can disappear into a cloud line setting, cloud operation service locations, psychological line conditions, psychometric communication system. All levels of psycho location, position, location, and track line. True to understand, it's mostly important to understand these things because now you're dealing with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Your 7 is missing in set locations, right? So to get your 7 back is to change your thought lines in your mind location setting. It's a tool set line system. So in that track line communication system, be careful what you say in set line calculation setting because it's all calculation how you come into your abundance of manifestation line setting. So you're going to think twice before you say something to its location. All right. So it's very powerful when you come into line calculation setting, that setting interference. All right. So make sure you protect your numbers. Now, shapes lines up, calculate line in a position location. Let's say you get a Fibonacci line setting. It's all calculated 3, right? So it's already in protected locations. It's got its sonars. It's got its equal line conditions of 4 settings, right? So then up wave patterns and line conditions of 4 set locations. So that's 8 channels, line conditions line setting of 60,000 streamlines in box line into time capacitor set location setting into another travel direction of time sequence in a line conditions of 2 atom rotation surface. Okay, it's complicated, right? So 3 is protecting the 7. You don't have to worry about the 3. That's all levels through a symbol. Same thing with the shape. Let's go through triangle with line set locations. So that's a 3 set line conditions. Setting communication of 1, 2, and 3 set locations, and 4 is in the center line condition. right? So inline communication 3, 6, and 9 is just a basic foundation line setting. You really get to higher levels of calculations once you understand the plateaus of 0, grounds, and work your way up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right? So in that communication, it becomes its own line setting, direction of time sequence. So in that set line connected high sys location, 3 becomes 3-line setting, 4 becomes 4-line setting, 2 becomes 2-line setting, and all calculations into 3 set location system. Okay. So now it's very simple. If you don't understand this set line communication system, remember I said 4, 2, and 3? The 3 is gone, disappeared. Why did it disappear? Right? Because it was exposed in the set locations. Right? So getting in that communications, you reframe, recalculate, remodify. Now you have a central line calculation system, which is all calculated in line setting when it comes into nanos of a second, sending communications back into the 3 set location. See, the 3's there again. So in that central line communication system, you don't need to block it because you already set it up. You're setting things up before it happens. You're already in the block setting locations. You're already connected to your precog line condition setting. But it's all recognition, all calculations, how to use your numbers in sequence locations, energetic graph lines, open channel, operation surface, and set locations. Okay? Block centers, line conditions, high center, phone reception, communications, open realm, open division, open calculation. All right? So it's very important to understand that you keep your numbers in protection. Line setting in all calculation stream. Okay. Now, in that position locations, we go back into the clock line settings. Let's go into 2-line set rotations. All right. So this is a clock of 12 and this is a clock of 24. All right. Now the 12-line setting is pretty easy. 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right? There's 12. And you got the indications, sun, you got the moon, and you in the center. All right. Now, to truly understand the calculation line interference, the 12, okay, is a set lines. It's not a 24 ground setting. So you get a 12 equals it's 24. So you're working with the 24 clock lines in center position now through its pi. Okay. You're not working with a 12 clock. You're working with a 24 now because you're in your left and you're in your right hemisphere line setting. But the 12 is a set line communications if people are not aware of their flux capacitor in set location, right? Which means they're not in their CPU set location. Okay. So that's a true understanding that everything comes into stability. Okay. It's all about nurturing nature. Okay. If nature isn't nurtured, where is it in exploration? Right? Where is it in exportation? Where is it in distribution? Where is it in travel calculations? Right? So you have to truly understand how to use the 12-line setting, all calculation setting in direct signals to equalines of its vibration set locations. Okay? Not its grounds. It's only a half cycle. It's only a half circle. It's only half of a pi. So you need 2 pi's in set lines. So you need 12 and 12, which is 24. So you're in a 24 clock line setting right here now. Setting that communication is the central lines of 48. And then 48 comes up here, and then 72 comes here. Okay? And then 72 comes up here, and then 144 comes here in set location system. That's how it works through travel. So you're always working with the 24 grounds now. Your operation surface in the 144 is getting you to a higher level setting, how to use the stability and set location to the mind frame, main frame, calculation frame, modification frame, okay, calculates over pi frame, okay, truly understand how to use it in all provisional locations, the ground setting locations of its hologram. Okay, so that's where it comes into set line condition setting. Okay, so it's all calculated to modify how you use your line setting, line interference, setting graph line streams in set communication setting, voice recognition patterns in set location system. Now, in channel operation line interference, you have to understand how to use the coordinates and set lines of zeros in set location system. Now, this all altitudes line communication, this is you in position locations, right? So you're sending out sonar line stream locations, center calculations, reverberation channels, okay, graph line streams, and all line electrical light connections of panel line position. This opens all signals and set lines. This is you and track location, right? That's you and track location. Now, you have to truly understand how to use the zero lines and position location of 2 in set location system. 0 and 2 line. So 0 and 2 line, 2 is automatically crisscross line center positions. Remember, right over left, left over right. It comes into its planetary surface location and setting, okay, which is all levels of Pluto. Pluto gets line communication setting, but you have to set up the perimeters of parameters in a line connection. So you have the planet line setting line position of 2, 2, 2, 2. Has to be in position of protection. 2, 2, 2, 2, right? So you are putting a plasma channel around your planet set locations into Pluto. That's protecting Pluto location of 2, 2, 2, 2. So you can have 3 2s, 4 2s, 5 2s, 5,000 2s. It all depends on where you are in travel location settings into your alpha set locations. Now, the planet line interference into Pluto line communication system, it all depends on your frequencies. So let's say it's a frequency line calculation setting in line communication interference. Let's say it's a calculation line setting location alpha, and it went all the way up to set line conditions of zeta. Zeta calculation line interference at gamma. Gamma line and position locations in high center location to omega in set line communications. All right. So we all have to recognize how to use the frequency patterns to set line communication system. You really have to truly understand that it's all calculated and modified through configuration. You have to understand how to use the circuits and the circuitry line center location and rotation of a planet, center calculations, indirect signals and set location, right? So you got longitude, okay, and you got latitude and set location. Setting line communications of coordinates. Now, it's really understand the longitude line settings and understand the latitude line center locations and its bandwidth, okay, of its length and its width. Okay, so understanding that is understanding the pi. See, this is the pi. Okay, so that pi is calculation in a 24 into 1, 2, and 3 in set location system. So line connection is circle line center line interference. Your avatar is here looking down at pi, sending center communication. So you spent 15 minutes in position locations into 24 pi, right? So that signals of 1 into 2 into 3. So in set lines of 1 is 13. Okay. 2 is 14 and 3 is 15. Right? Setting that communication system is all levels setting, but you have to understand the pi of recognition through its planet surface. Now, the bandwidth changes line communications of its longitude and latitude through its location of its high center location of all levels. This changes weight, this changes mass, this changes calculations to its energy cycle line condition setting. Okay? Now, recognizing the communication of its planet is understanding how to use it through its hook connections of its codes and its coordinates. All you're doing is you're trying to get to a location through its frequencies. So let's say you got the planet line communication system. You're here, right here, set line connections. That's you, right? Setting communication of scan lines, right? So you got a planet coming in, center line communication, center communication, right? So what planet is that through location system? Well, you have to understand you're actually traveling to that location. Right away. That's you. You're traveling to it, right? Setting communication, you scan it again in set line condition system. Has 2 panels and set lights because it's protecting its system. And it sets line communication. So line communication comes into a location grid in center communication, travels right through line setting in 12 set location system of its DNA set location. Setting communication, the avatar sets line communication line settings into its beacon light. It sets lines and travels to its traveling system, right through to the planet location of frequency in set locations. All right. So that's how this is all set up. When you are in position of coordinates and longitude and latitude and length and width, truly understand how to use it through calculations. right? That's how this works. Every single time you guys are in your avatar location of your grids. So getting to that communication, the frequency line center location is a coloration. It's recognizing your color as you're recognizing its color calculation system. So Pluto is what in all calculation? Red. It's security, perimeters and parameters. You can't go wrong with that cell locations. But every day, your planet system is never in the same location. It's all levels of protecting its own system. And once it reaches its own system, it connects with you through friendship, relation, and partnership. And then you have a better calculation to its setting of operation. Okay. But you have to truly understand the frequencies. Understanding the frequencies, the connections of the planet will give you the calculations to its brain of its coordinate set location. Okay. That's all it is. It's a videograph line setting. Recognition, high line interference, high track line communication system, travel line settings, video box, green line conditional levels of zeros and ones set locations into a visional cortex location. Done by equation, right? So now you understand the importance of when you're coming across these things, right? Your provisional location is extremely powerful now because you're reaching higher levels of your chakra settings, especially in 92 of 45 of phenomenal locations. 4-line settings, each line conditions of 5. 5-line setting on 5-line conditions of 4 sets communication system. So what's going on is the 4 and the 5 are basically getting to know each other through travel, sending communications back into 45 set location, right? 44 equals lines of 5, 54. So basically the 4 is traveling over here, 4 is traveling over here, 5 is over here. Okay, 4 is over here in set location system. So what the 4 and the 5 are doing is trying to get knowing how to use the communication to the levels of its frequency set line connection system, because 4 is the generations of yellow, 5 is the generation line connections of green, or anything through correlation line connections to your heart. That's never going to change your foundations of your 12. You're always, 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 always working with your foundations of your 12 of your DNA. At 13 antenna and sent lines into your higher self position. Now, it's all levels of consciousness of frequency. Okay. So once you understand how to use the plane and mechanism line center locations of 4 and 5, you understand the importance of its travels of mechanism locations of space and time. Pi recognition line calculation system is all levels of set location system, okay, to track line setting. All right. So I want you to understand how powerful it is once you come into that level. It's amazing when you start reaching higher levels of calculation setting, but it's important that you understand that what the avatar is doing, it's going through its own location grid every single time. Its job is not just to remember, its job is to understand where it is and why it's there. How many times has it been there at that planet? So that planet changes the frequencies, just as you change your emotional setting every second, every minute, at every hour of the day. Okay? So a lot of communication at settings, guys. Lots of communication. All right, Danielle. Tina, Paula, girl, how you doing? Geneva, Heather, calculations, all line settings. Trinity, Nikki, Merlin, Bojan, setting line position locations, all level setting, interference, tracking communication line settings, all direction of time sequence. See, it's all levels of view of what you're doing. What are you doing? Trying to figure out the clocking of the avatar and what it's doing through travel, right? So all it is just reaching a frequency. That's all it is. So you're here traveling, right? That's you traveling. And you're reaching frequencies, reaching frequencies, reaching frequencies. That's all it is. So every time you touch down in each frequency, you scan its set location system, know exactly what it is in position, location, high setting. That's all you're doing. It's reaching frequencies. So once you reach the frequencies, now you understand what are you connecting to through its frequency. What image are you seeing through color? Because it's all connected to you inside. Because everything is created inside of you through space, right? So you got space and time inside of you. So everything that you're connecting to is you. Multipass. Setting that position line connection, truly understand how to use the operation to its location grid to get to its planet through its energy, frequencies, vibration, and its harmonics, guys. Harmonics is extremely important because it's all levels of input and output of audio signal locations of voice grids, pattern recognition, voice recognition, and position location settings of face recognition. Okay. So these are the things you have to understand how this works for you and always informed, especially when you're coming into clocking of a 24 set location, right? So that's how it works. 24, 40 sets, 8 lines in set locations, right? Now then, and then set line communication system, the 48 goes up in set locations, right? Travels line setting comes into 72, okay? Now, in that line communication setting, 72 goes up to the top, right? And 144 sets in the center location system. Okay? That's how it works. That's how it works. Okay? So what it is, it's a platitude line communication of your DNA going up every single time through 2 panels of operation. Okay? So understanding that and exactly the clocking of your position locations, you're working with your 24s, you're working with your 48s, you're working with your 72s, you're working with your 144s, right? Your base now is at communications and set lines of 144 equal lines of ground levels of space / time. That's where you guys are at. The CPU line and line in position location is at 144 clocking setting. There's a difference. They're not in their set location high set of DNA. You're in your DNA setting. So in the track communication system, they have to understand that travels first through their 4 lines of their CPU and set location system. Okay? So there's a difference between clocking and DNA. The geometric operation of direct line settings 144 and set line connection to the high system in line direct locations comes into numbers / graph line stream and set location system. Setting calculation line higher line position locations, area code lines, set lines of 1. That's long distance line communication system. Into all calculation setting, 7-digit line interference and set locations code signal into all calculations in line set location of Saturn. Okay, so it's just really understand the connection high system. Northwest, south, and east is already set up to graph lines. All right, so that's the right locations. All right, this stance precedes its line connections to its Metatronic line interference electrical board set location system. Weaving cycles, line setting, line interference, and 2 tracks in position of 4 line setting. Okay, that's the coordinates to get to Saturn and set locations all through this, through 144. Right, so you have to understand you have a digital code layer. And that digital code layer sets a circuit pocket line calculation setting. All calculation line position starts with this 4 waving cycles, setting communications, 4 planets, and set line communications and set lines high setting, right? Direction on time sequence location is center line communication, right? Ground lines operation is circle line calculation system. Indirect line centers in the magnetic highway information line setting. It's recognized high line conditions. If you look at really, really close, you can actually see the tree formation. Right? See how that's in coordinates locations, how it looks like a tree? Tree, light formation, life force. 2 planets atop. Line connections of longitude and latitude and set line communication system. Bandwidth over pi and calculations over line setting. Trifactor line calculation system and factory calculation streamline setting. Right? So you are in calculation line setting trying to understand your geometric operation of your design of your cloud location of its tree, all through 4 planet locations, done by equation. So now you understand why it's so important how you become a nature resource line setting of a channel operation stream, all through data, all through communications, right? All through a circuitry board set line condition system, how you get 4 planets, it's set lines and calculates over pi in coordinate line calculation longitude and latitude in line condition high system and all levels of calculations of a tree formations of life and set locations to your clouds of a galaxy setting. Okay. So Just showing you always informs how you can travel through your clock lines and how it becomes all visible to set line conditions, right? Yeah, it's amazing what you guys are coming into now, right? Because you're getting your ground lines, your mind lines, and space lines of time, setting that in communication system locations, right? But that's what you have to come into. You have to understand the geometric line setting, okay, which is your GPS. Okay, that's your GPS. Okay, and then you got your line condition, your echo. You got your connection location. Those are your sonars. Okay, setting communication. You got your satellites. Okay, setting different all calculations to your calculation settings of your ground line setting and set location system. Right. So this goes here. This goes here. This goes here. And this goes here. That's all it is. It's all laws of travel. It's just traveling. That's all it's doing. So once I understand the coordinate line setting line interference, you set up line communication system. Northwest, okay, identification line settings, Pluto. Pluto line setting line and rotation interference and position locations and perimeters is line connections in Omega. That's where it is right now through frequency because I see it. So it's Omega, line calculation setting, okay, in set locations and parameters. Now it's in line communication, high setting interference into all levels of 3 circle location settings of all set location of box line. Box line rotation surface and set location high travels and set location high setting in direct signal location. Now, in that line communication system, this is the planet line setting line setting. Okay, that's the planet, right? Now, really understand that once you understand the satellites and the antennas and the communication to the geographical lines of the perception location of systematic line connections and lock signal location, your eco line connection system, you come into all levels of Northwest, eco line conditions of Pluto, line communication line center, line interference. Where is it in set location of its division? Is it in sector, vector, or quadrant? Where is it? Setting communication lines into an alpha line setting. So it's a high communication system. So it's an echo chamber line and calculation system across lines of nebula. So that communication is a direct signal. That comes in line communication because I know that because Pluto is now communicating with Neptune in set location of triangulations, all levels of nebula. 3 triangle line interference, 1 position location of 2 satellite conditions, triangulations of 3 satellite conditions of 3 planets, all set in communication, right? Those are the coordinates in satellite communication settings in all direct line connections. The identification is already set up. You identified your system. You're connected all levels with Pluto. You're connected with all levels of calculation setting, right? You change the frequencies. It changes the planet setting location of its atmosphere location system, okay? So that's all it is. It's just trying to understand how to use it through triangulation. How many planets do you want to communicate all at once, right? But there's the 3 set line connections right there. All done through equation, right? Now, if you want to get all lines of calculation line interference, line communication is 0, 1, line 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, line 0, 0, 0, coordinate line communication, identification lines of box, line communication system, travel line center with Z line, rotation interference, tango line communication setting. That's the coordinates to get their locations. Arbitrary communication line centers, but these are the coordinate line centers of 0 lines of 1s is that location 2 is planet and set line condition system. Pluto and identification code system. Directing state location all level setting. Okay. So I'm just showing you how this works for you in all ways, how you can use your set line communications, right? So it's like you're looking at a map, but you're not looking at a map. You are the map of equation. You're not looking at it. You're becoming. So that's the position locations where you don't have to worry about the location because you're already there. You're already set. You already see the frequency. You already see the energy. You already see the image. You already see the coordinates. Okay? So I really want you to understand that now because the set lines of communication setting opens all signal locations. Sending communication line interference, get them in a 12 line center location, high center DNA line interference. Get them in platitude locations of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 planet line calculation system. 10 minutes, have fun. All right, so triangle line interference, 3 set line conditions, 1, 2, and 3 set line condition system. Calculation of 6, calculation setting, and triangulations of pi, where the moon is. Sending calculation line interference, energetic dome line rotation setting. Setting calculation line interference as zero gravity line rotation interference in flux powers communication system, position, location, attraction. Setting communication line and direct line signals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Set location 13. Setting communication line, setting line direct location system. All right. So planetary surface locations, get them at all track lines, inset lines, and communications, all foundations to all planet surface. All right. Have fun. So in that in communication line setting, really recognize all communications to a system. All right. So I really want you to understand each planet has a different frequency, different color, different light, but it's all connected to you inside. Remember, space and time is inside. It's not outside. It's inside you. Okay, so the only thing that measures is the scales of balance and how you understand the coordinates of its set locations, guys. Longitude, latitude, length and width, ratios, proportions, right? That's the true understanding when it comes up to all levels of you through maps of equation to set locations. Okay? So have fun. Now, when you're going to be doing that, I'm going to go through equation settings of star links. Equation line setting, line interference, star link. That's what you guys are coming into, linking some links. So you're linking channels now, like this in set locations. Okay, that's what you guys are doing now. So line calculations, higher levels of location, grid lines of travel positions, direction of time sequence. Okay, energetic dome position locations. High calculation, high lines of planet line setting and rotation surface. Directional line conditions of the sun in communication all setting and position of the moon. Kaleidoscope line setting line interference, setting direct signals in the three waving line position of patterns in a line communication hires of travels and set location high setting indirect signals into its operation surface and set location. Okay, all through Starlink. Okay, but you have to understand the calculation of its links, right? Because that's what you guys are coming into. So this comes into line communications when you really understand how to use not just the star links, not just the satellites, not just the antennas, but the star portals, the star gates. Star gates. Okay. Line connecting high setting, high communications, all levels of set locations. Let's go to two Stargate lines, just streams in set location system. All right. Direction lines of Fibonacci, lines of swirl, and three lines. All right. Recognize line interference, position location of Fibonacci's in three lines, and position location of six lines. So three lines in position of 6, 3 in position of 3. All right. So three lines is a double helix, two panels, line communication. All right. Now, line connection is 6. So 6 is the moon line, where it crosses streamline setting. Right. So the moon crosses lines in a travel communication. So the moon sets a line communication to its energetic line stream. In that set lines, the sun sets line communication opens up higher levels of signals in set location system. Direction of time sequence comes into its box frame in its TV reception line of communication. All right. Now, in that direct signal, you got 3 and 3. So that's a double helix. So that's a double panel line operation of stream location system. Right? Double helix. So in that line communication, you can travel lines of 12 DNA in this line communication, in center line connection, or you can crisscross into the center lines of the sun communication system in its position. Okay, so many lines of communication that travel, all through a TV reception line, so a box location. So there's a lot of things you have to understand how to really get into all connections of travel. Okay. And again, it's all recognizing your foundation locations of 0 to 12 to 13, guys. You really have to understand how to use it in all provision. This is going to help you in all ways in calculation system. But this is about understanding how to travel faster, okay, to its chronological understanding, which is understood to all calculation modification system, to your set lines and its connections to its GOD, to its track system locations. Now, when I say track, I'm saying location. When I say location, I'm saying grid. Everything is balanced in signal location and masculine and feminine to a set line communication system. You don't have to worry about the planets. They're already in its operation. It's you trying to find the planets of its frequency to set line communication so you can find the balance of you inside. The planets have to find the balance of you inside. That's the only way this is going to work. Okay? You can't say you want to go to a planet and not understand what it is through frequency. Okay? So you truly understand how this works for you through its coordinates. Code activation, code weaving, right? Code anomaly, right? Changing a whole energetic graph line, setting line condition with algorithm pro locations and settings of a website. Okay? So these have to understand you as you have to understand them. Them in the set lines of your solar system. Because all 12 line signals is in its recognition line condition system already in its alignment of its code anomaly, which means it's already set in its location. Okay? You have to remember all these through energy, vibration, frequency, harmonics. Okay? Understand the connections to its energy, understand its intelligence, understand its computer operation, understand its sets lines, understanding the travel calculation setting. Your planet is never, ever, ever in the same location. Right? I'll give you another multipass. The communication of your thoughts are calculated and modified that sets the position, location, and tone lines to your planet settings. So in that line communication system, understand calculation line interference because you're at 144 and because you're coming to the higher line calculation setting in calibration system, you're coming into the high set line calculations, electrical line settings. In that set communication system, your thoughts are coming into all levels of calculation settings. So what are thoughts, location of its intelligence? Okay. In set line communication, intelligence over thoughts, thoughts over intelligence. Once you understand its intelligence, you understand the thought communication, which is the levels of what? Planet system. Okay. Very, very, very high rise in set location system. So every time you're channeling out in set line calculation setting, you're setting up planets in set location system all through your thoughts. Intelligence of thoughts. It's all created line communication setting. So in that direct line signal, you're setting up visionary cortex lines of streams into your phenomenal positions. So in that line communication setting, this is what it is, right? Through your 144 DNA set location hologram structure line. So your line communication comes in this setting. That's you, right? Now, in set line and communication line position location, this comes in all setting, okay? Physical alignment in your set line calculations, right? Avatar line connection high system, all right? Setting communications, right? Higher self, avatar, okay? So in that communication system, it scans right away a planet, it sees a planet, scans the center. I know this because I'm scanning planets in set location 3 settings, right? Recognize the frequency, okay, so it's in a delta wave. Okay, there's the wave set locations. Repeating on signal, automatic, repeating over and over, over and over. It's in a delta wave, right? What is the delta wave line, center line interference? What is it? And it's very hot, set location system. It's all calculated line interference. So division line, equal line, calculation high center interference, in position of delta wave, calculation line interference into Mercury in set location system, right? So I'm scanning Mercury. So Mercury understands my identification, understands my code, understands my calculation system. So the body of the reaction to your higher self gets a line calculation, sending a line to your consciousness, sending communication to your satellites and set line calculation system, indirect signals, set location of the system, right? So you're getting all levels of body reaction line settings in set locations, all through setting. Okay. So locations are the plots of the grids and connections. Yeah. Well, that's what it is, Chris. But now you're really, really understanding more lines because every time you change your emotional set, okay, remember everything that you do through your intelligence of thoughts now, you're not in thoughts of intelligence, you're in intelligence of thoughts. It's creating its line setting of all levels of protect location system. So it's in a direct signal to where it needs to go to its location. You have the intent, you have the will, the force, the creation, and location, Right there. 5. Right there. Heart. Boom. Right? Right there. The heart. 5 indications to set line calculations. Okay? In that communications. And when you're in initiation, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off. Right? Or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? So that's a true understanding of what your higher self is doing through its avatar. Higher self and the avatar are the same thing. They're integrated already. They're just reaching different frequency set locations, and it just metaphorically setting. The avatar is the mind. The higher self is the grounds. Avatar is the mind in calculation setting. Right? The higher self is the earth ground rotation of its conscious location to its body of its reaction. Okay? Multipass. Setting that communication system is an integration of one setting. Very powerful in set locations, guys. Okay? All right. Pyra. It's great to see everybody. Happy smiles, happy faces. Okay. The thing is, Bojan, as soon as you question, anything that you question is what? What is it doing? What is it doing? It's changing the vibration, the frequencies, harmonics, and its energy right away. It's like you're stopping something and you're like, okay, I don't want to do that. I have to go back to the grounds. I have to go back to observation, right? You got to go back to your hangers. So the true understanding is you really have to understand the grounds of you in the mind, not the grounds of this, the mind. Okay, it's the conception of the mind, adaptation, location of source that recognizes all calculation settings to its coordinates of longitude and latitude, of length and width. Because what you're doing is you're expanding the mind. You're coming in exploration. You're coming into higher levels of adventure setting. You're coming into higher levels of memory setting. That's what this is. Okay? Getting into that position location opens up all levels of you through your divisions, sectors, vectors, and quads. Okay? So, very powerful when you come in that line, center line interference. Okay, so we're in 52 lines, 53 set location system. All levels of high set location. Once you reach 10, you guys will go back where you are in set location system. All right, you're back. All right. So really understand the observation locations, all right, and set line calculation interference. Tomorrow, mañana, line calculation, line position locations, operation surface. We're going to go through the holodeck's locations. You know, understand what a holodeck is, in position of its command setting, of its planet location, of its hangar. Okay. All right, great job, everyone. It's set lines of communication system. Drink your waters, and I'll see you soon. Adios.